Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. We are discussing for one of the last times a brand new Bad Batch episode. I missed last week's because I was in the middle of moving, but today we had episode 13 of season 3 titled Into the Breach with the description, "The Batch prepare for a gambit in enemy territory." Fair enough. I will say right off the bat, full spoilers of course, I really enjoyed this episode as I have for all of the episodes this season, but I'm left with some questions which have been on my mind since the beginning of this season, really since the announcement that season 3 would be the final for the show. My question is really about legacy. When we look back at the Bad Batch, what is going to be the theme or the idea or the greater overall contribution to Star Wars that we take away from these 3 seasons? I think early on you could argue that the show appropriately spent a lot of time focusing on clones. It looked like there was going to be some sort of clone revolution, or at least would really get a good look at what happened to the clones, and that would be its legacy. But that's something the show has moved away from since really mid-season 2. We've got 2 episodes left now. 2 episodes left of the entire show, and I'm just sort of left wondering what they can accomplish other than the actual physical rescuing of Omega, the children, and the clones in Mount Tantus. That's great, and that's an important part of like the plot of this season, but I want more out of the show. And I'm not saying that they can't figure it out, but I guess I'm just left wondering what's the plan, or what was the plan when deciding that this would be the final season. I will say I suspect that the final episode of the series, episode 15, will be longer. Usually these seasons have had 16 episodes. I'm guessing episode 15 will be at the very least a double length, like 40-minute episode. Maybe they'll even go as episode 1 did and have a big 60-minute one. I'm not sure. I also anticipate, based on the episode name, The Cavalry Arrives, that we will see some of our other well-known clones like Rex, and that will help, I guess, set things up for the future and connect the end of the show with everything else. But I don't know, maybe this will be more of just a story, and maybe that's not a bad thing. I've really enjoyed each and every one of the characters introduced in this show. The Bad Batch especially, like, I didn't care for them at the beginning, but I definitely do now. Or I mean, the other option is, it's possible the Bad Batch is going to move directly into some other show. Like, we know the Asajj Ventress story hasn't been fully told. Connecting her with Omega seems pretty obvious. I don't know, I've loved pretty much everything they've done animation-wise since the Disney takeover, and obviously the Clone Wars as well, so I want them to continue. I would have really liked, I think, 4 seasons of this show, but if we're not going to get that, hopefully they jump right in and continue the story, because they are doing something which, honestly, is pretty special in my opinion. I guess some of the outstanding questions going into the final 2 episodes include what's going to connect with the greater Star Wars universe, especially the sequel trilogy, or whatever Thrawn is going to be doing in Ahsoka Season 2 and the Heir to the Empire sort of mini-universe they're creating. Will we learn more about Project Resurrection, the other secrets of Mount Tantus? And regarding Mount Tantus, will the story of the Bad Batch simply be one chapter in whatever's going on there? Or are they going to destroy it on the way out? I mean, if we look at Heir to the Empire, the original Heir to the Empire and the Thrawn trilogy of novels, Mount Tantus is essentially deserted by the time Thrawn finds it. Will the Bad Batch be setting up a situation like that? I don't know, kind of interesting to think about, however. But enough gum flapping, let's talk about the actual episode itself. First of all, lots of good facial hair in these past couple. We got a new mustache science officer in this one, plus Rampart's beard. I do just find it hilarious how these guys are always on their tablets, like they're every child ever at a restaurant. I know I've also said this pretty much every episode, but the Bad Batch continues to show off its visual style, and I love it. Super impressed by several moments in this episode. The Vista as they're being picked up by Echo, just great. I almost said Tech, rest in peace. And pretty much every shot around the Imperial Space Station, it was specifically called Imperial Station 3, just beautiful. And I gotta say, I really appreciated that station as well. This wasn't the first time we've seen it, but this was obviously the best look. Star Wars canon has been using this style for Imperial stations and modules, and it's kind of cool because it really goes back to concept art for Coruscant, or as it was known during creation, had Abaddon, Imperial Center, which was at one point meant to appear in Return of the Jedi. It's just cool to have, you know, a history of the Empire and to see the design move from stations like this to the Imperial complex on Lothal. I appreciate it, and it helps the Imperial era have a bit more flavor outside of what we see in the movies. Ultimately, I don't know if there's really a whole lot to break down once they're actually in the station. I mean, I really like, obviously, the interaction between the characters, the Bad Batch. Like, again, it makes me sad that we're losing them. It's interesting to see how Crosshair jumps in to defend the competencies of Echo, for example. I was, a little surprised by that. Crosshair always very proud of, you know, his exceptional status, and Echo is really just a reg with some CIS modifications. But hey, I guess he is one of the boys. Anyway, overall, a good episode. I'm just left wondering about the future, I guess. But let me know what you guys thought, of course, on all this and more down below.